It's been said that all good things must come to an end, but when it comes to our hobby of toy collecting, can you really see an end to this sort of long game that we play in terms of getting our favorite pop culture icons into plastic or collectible form of some sort? And just in the preparation and leading up to this, I was thinking to myself, as long as I'm capable to collect, I'm going to do it. But who knows? The years go by. They may not be as kind to me as they are to other people. But let's hope that we can preserve this hobby for as long as we can. And with that, once again, hi, everyone. My name's Ken, and this is a Toy Connections online live stream, or TKO, broadcasting to you on this fine Sunday, whatever part of the world you happen to be in, and whatever time zone you're in. So first off, this is a, I guess, pre-Halloween edition, although we're not horror or Halloween themed today at this point in time. But feel free to exchange some pleasantries in the chat and give each other a happy Halloween and figure out what everybody's dressing for. I think tomorrow for work, I don't actually have a costume. I'll just be carrying my WWE Intercontinental title on my shoulder, and like it's just going to look a little weird because I won't actually be dressed as a wrestler, but whatever. All right. Very interesting topic today. Going to try to talk about what are the collecting limits and where does it end for you as a collector? And I'm going to ask each of my guests this question, as well as, is there a finite lifespan? You know, is our hobby going to reach an end where all of a sudden we all age out and there's no one to take the reins going forward? And that's the one that I really want to get into topic-wise. But let's bring some of my friends here on screen. And the first individual is somebody I've been trying to get on for a little while, and he's a big Transformers fan. We got a lot of common friends. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel in the description below. He's got a really nice logo, really nice icon avatar. It's supposed to be an old school kaiju of sorts, and that's why his name is Gojitron. Good to see you, bud.
Good afternoon, Ken. Hello, chat. How's everybody doing?
Well, I see a lot of your friends in the chat right now, a lot of our common friends. So I guess they'll all be happy to see you on TKO. It's a lot of people don't know that Goji works every other weekend. So every weekend I've tried to get him on, and it's that, you know, it's like I keep losing the coin toss every single time. I keep calling the wrong side of the coin, and it's like finally this time I was able to get him. So, you know,
the stars have aligned.
The stars have finally aligned. And welcoming back to TKO, you can also subscribe to his Fandom Power Podcast channel in the description below. He podcasts on anything and everything related to Star Wars. He is my go-to guy for Star Wars information. Wes from Fandom Power, welcome back, my friend.
Hello, everybody. I keep saying we're not a Star Wars show, but I mean, I guess the titles speak for themselves. I think we're 99% Star Wars, but yes, also a huge toy guy. Although this is just a fraction of my personal collection. Yeah, I'm very interested to explore this topic today because I have been very recently on the cusp of, is it time to cash it all in?
Yeah,
looking forward to talking about it.
Oh, for sure. The thing is, I first saw your what do you call it? Luke Skywalker video, the one where you went through all the Luke Skywalkers.
Every Luke Skywalker ever.
But I think you went through a bunch of He-Mans as well.
I did every He-Man ever, and in fact, one of my podcast partners, the day that it was published, he's like, "You forgot one."
It always happens.
It's funny.
All right, and the final individual that I brought here, he happens to have the same first and last name as the Dallas Cowboys quarterback of 14 seasons. But no, this individual, I know it's Sunday, but he will not be throwing any touchdowns or hopefully no interceptions at all today. Now, this guy doesn't make his name as far as being in the NFL. He makes his name by, if you go on Instagram and you look up Tony's_figs, the link's below. You can see a lot of really great custom G.I. Joe classified stuff. And he also appears on A Toy Kind of Moods Welcome to the Terrordrome, which you can also subscribe to down below. Tony Romo of the Dallas Cowboys. No, I misspoke. Tony Romo, welcome.
No INTs today, baby. No INTs. I'm a little older than him, so I can lay claim to the name first, though. But he was the quarterback of my team too, so I was born into that. But man, I feel like a baby, dude. Look at these awesome collections behind you guys. There's my little thing.
Yeah, but on
Yeah.
Instagram, it's the other way around.
Oh, there you go. Get on that thing, check it out. Yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. Glad to see you guys. Good morning, everybody. Awesome to connect with you guys, Wes and Carl. Man, it's gonna be fun.
Yep. So we got a rocketing topic today that I can't wait to get into. But with that, let's say a quick hello to the chat first. And of course, I say first, and Hans Chow has typed first. I don't know what it is. Last week, he was playing Ken version 2 Doppelganger, so I guess we're starting to think alike, a bit like Tomax and Zaymont. But yeah, we've got Jordan from Canada, formerly known as Anonymous Dude 123. Happy to be here and happy to have you in the chat. And Boba Hicks, who was on a number of weeks ago. Always good to see him. Jordan from Canada has picked up on my TKO thing with some of you who watch AEW know that Britt Baker goes DMD. That's where I get my TKO from. I'm glad someone's picked up on that. So, Scuba Pete, I was gonna say he's actually everybody's trusty chat moderator. I should say that. Jeff Morris, always good to exchange pleasantries with you, my friend. And we've got a Facebook user because I'm simulcasting on the Canadian Toy Gallery and privacy settings be damned. They don't allow me to see who it is, but hello and welcome. Jim Largo from Guatemala. Always a pleasure to see you in the chat. TJC, good to see you here. And gosh, have I caught up with everybody? Ryan Sweeney, hello and good morning. You were up late last night, so good to Dreadnought Ryan is around, and he's actually wondering how you're doing. So,
What's up, buddy?
There we go. And this one's for you, Tony. 07 Leia.
Hey, what's going on, woman? How you doing?
Yep. And we got KB, or as he's gone as K-Dog Broadcasting right now, one of the Patreon members of Toy Connections. Yeah. Oh, it's Shane, apparently. So, hi, Shane. Hope you're well over in Calgary. I know 2 Shanes in Calgary, so hopefully, and that's no joke. All right.
That was funny. I just got it now. 07 Leia is my daughter. Like, oh, she's here. Too funny.
You're going to get a text message today.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Is it a text message from within the house, like from the living room, or text
No. She's at her mom's. She's at her mom's house. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. So I see some very keen faces on camera and very excited people in the chat. So, look, I gave that introduction that made me a little bit sad when I said it. I was talking and I kind of stuttered a couple of times, and I'm like, no, collecting doesn't get to end, right? We'll always be in our 40s, and we will always be in our prime collecting years, right? That's kind of what I tell people. Or we'll always be in our early 50s, and we'll be in our prime collecting years with decent disposable income. But I've been told that that's not only a pipe dream, it's an impossibility. I mean, first question I threw on the agenda is, we'll go on a personal level first. Like, where does collecting start and end, and where do you set your own, like, hobby lifespan be damned? Where do you set your personal limits while you're still in the hobby? I'll go clockwise, starting with Gojitron.
Well, I think my personal limits are the same as every other collector's. Our 2 enemies are always going to be space and money. So I'm limited to what I can comfortably display and what I can comfortably afford. And I think that's going to be a universal thing across all collectors, no matter what age, really. I mean, even as we get older, I see a collection as an organic thing that sort of changes along with what your situation currently is in life and your lifestyle and your income. So it could grow, it could shrink, depending on, what you're doing in life at that time.
That's true, and I think because I asked you first, you got to give the obvious answer, and with the whole space and money thing, I was like, whoever I ask first is going to say that. I should have just gone first. I would have said the same thing, and I do feel the same way because, like, even my bigger stuff I can't display. But Wes, over to you, buddy.
Man, I definitely emulate what Gojitron said, that, I mean, budget by far is probably the biggest consideration. But damn, if my heartstrings are not pulled on a daily basis as I see new releases and pre-orders that are coming down the pipe. And that's where I really had to draw. Like I don't know about you guys, but I've already downsized my collection once, and I didn't start collecting as an adult until 2007. So a little over 10 years now. And I've already had to downsize it once because when I came back to collecting as an adult, I just wanted everything I could get my hands on, and that just wasn't working for me. So I'll use Transformers as an example. I'm a big Transformer fan. So for me, there has to be this real, I mean, everything I see has a bit of an emotional, like I said, it pulls up my heartstrings, but what am I really emotionally connected to? And so, Transformers is an easy one. G1, season 1, season 2, and the 86 film. That's it. Anything outside of that, I don't care how awesome it is. That is a hard, fast limit for me that I have set. Otherwise, I will be house poor. But that doesn't help me in the sense that I like so many other properties. Like, I mean, anybody else got a Battlestar collection going on? Like, it's hard. It is so hard not to see something and go, oh, I need that. At the same time, again, for me, it comes down to what has the biggest, what evokes 10-year-old Wes. That's really what it is. What evokes 10-year-old Wes? And there are so many like modern things. I mean, you can't deny that nostalgia is the big buzzword. I think for our generation as 40 somethings, we're tapping into that nostalgia. I mean, certainly I see a lot of modern stuff behind everybody, so I don't feel like I'm alone in that department. I don't have a lot of vintage toys, but I do have a lot of modern toys that have come out of vintage lines. So that's kind of it for me. I stay away from vintage for the most part because I can't afford it, and it's too hard to track down. But yeah,
I agree with the second part there. But the vintage and modern gap is starting to close a little bit.
I have some. I have a bit, but not a lot. Typically, mask. I have some vintage mask because nobody has taken a crack at yet. Nobody's taken a crack at mask yet. But I mean, there is some stuff coming down the pipe which I may or may not buy into.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the pricing's is starting to close between vintage and modern. I know the really high end vintage, that stuff's still way out there, but but no, that's a pretty good way to go about it, Wes. I'd have no argument or complaints.
Maybe this, I don't want to take up too much time, but value for dollar. Like I see a lot of 6-inch on our shelves. And I look at it this way, like, I mean, and I don't want to bash on any particular company, but if you're selling a basic 6-inch, we'll say Marvel Legends figure, and in Canada, the average Marvel Legend has what, a $39 price tag now, Ken?
Something.
Bash away, Wes. Bash away.
Yep.
You are now approaching NECA territory. And so when I hold up my 7-inch NECA figure against my 6-inch Marvel Legend or other Hasbro figure, and I look at what's in the box, there is an inequitable value there that I just don't think is justifiable. So, that's kind of another thing that I look at is, am I getting value for my dollar? Heartstrings be damned. I mean, one accessory in a Hasbro box does not make it a deluxe.
Right.
Look what happened with the recent classified Kamakura, which I might get Tony to weigh in on a little bit. Like, they throw a couple extra accessories and an extra head. Suddenly I'm paying a deluxe price. But, Tony, why don't you weigh in on this subject? What are your limits?
Oh, man. So my limits were like, oh, man. I wasn't even thinking about it until Carl said that space, money, you know what I mean? It's like, if I only have so much space, there's only so much I'm going to collect. But, like, and then what Wes said, I've downsized too. It's like, and then for me, and especially like nephews and people who come over, it's like, my little thing looks cluttered. And I'm kind of like, less is more, but you might not be selling them off. You're just putting them away, and you can swap them out, and sometimes, it's pretty packed in there right now, but I'm doing customs like crazy when the mood hits me, but you get a nice little stair stack display and you have your things out. I've got tons of them in tubs in my closet, and I'm like, am I gonna sell those? Am I really gonna swap them out? That's just where it's going. And then you get into these you vehicles and stuff. Like, I don't have space for all that stuff. Am I gonna start hanging them from the ceiling? It's like, wow. I don't want it necessarily to end, but like they keep coming out with stuff, and then you have the price. That's what drives me. The prices, the bang for your buck. Oh, that hit me with that, engine of what. So it's like, So I've been really good at staying in my lane. About I have what I like, and I was telling somebody the other day that I think I'm done with Marvel Legends because they gave me everything I want already for me. I keep coming out with stuff. I'm glad, people, are getting things, that they've liked and they haven't seen yet, and it's coming out, but it's just not for me. So I'm cherry picking now. I'm cherry picking Marvel Legends, and that's all I really am into right now. And it came from comic books. I was a huge comic book dude. Marvel, DC was like the main two, and then Image Comics with when the Turtles first came out, because that was a black and white comic book, and they were cussing and killing, and it was crazy cool, And then they made big money with coming out for kids and everything, which is the next thing to do, which was awesome for them. But yeah, stopping. I don't see it in the future, but I keep it chill. I'm not out there getting, these expensive other figures like you mentioned, Wes. It's like, wow, those are, I still got to make a car payment and bills and stuff. So that plays into it a lot, it's crazy. But yeah, now it's just, since my hobby, my zen, I have two jobs. One, I'm a 911 EMT on an ambulance, a 24-hour ambulance. So my zen and my chill zone is making these customs. And, oh man, it's just so much fun to get in there, and you think you got something you're going for, and then you play with something and it becomes something else. I'm like, oh man, this is relaxing me, and having fun doing it. So like I said, I'm coming from the customizing mind. So my collections and stuff stay to Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe. And now, just for the nostalgia, I'm hitting the superpowers, the McLaughlin superpowers.
Oh, nice.
They just hit that nostalgia place in my mind. It's like, damn, I wish I would have sold those. Oh, he's coming out with some. Pick them up and get them, and maybe customize some of those. You never know. So it's just I'm not stopping anytime soon, but I stay in my lane. You know what I mean?
You know what? And first off, thank you for your service. We'll just drop in
welcome.
there. And I think a lot of people feel this. I quit collecting every week. I'm getting really good at it. So
yeah,
I know that feeling.
Right. I also know the feeling when figures were $1.99 to $4.99, and your parents would limit you to one, maybe. Right. So I think a lot of people feel the same way. Comics, they were always
comics were 75 cents.
Maybe, I don't know about you guys. I have a small retail shop, which it adds a whole new perspective, because then you start seeing wholesale pricing on this stuff, and when you see the markup, and you kind of go, "What?" It's shocking. It really is. Yeah. And I mean, we see, talk about price creep. It's not just on the retail shelf; it's in the wholesale pricing as well. In the last couple of years, the way wholesaling has gone up, it's awful. It makes it really, really hard for a small independent to make a go at it.
Yeah. So I mean, Wes is a toy entrepreneur like many of us. He owns a Silver Screen Collectibles there out of Ontario. And correct me if I'm wrong, Wes, but wholesale pricing has gotten to a point too where, like, a lot of times if you want to sell something for $40 Canadian, which that's about what, 30 US after exchange, give or takes, a lot of times it lands to you between $28 and $32.
I would say so I came into the game in 2016, and we kind of formed our shop around NECA, because in 2016 in Canada, NECA was the specialty shop brand. You couldn't walk into a Walmart and buy NECA in 2016, not in Canada anyway. And back then, wholesale on the average NECA Ultimate figure was around $20, $22. And fast forward to this year, and those same Ultimates. And NECA is famous for rerunning figures. So we see the same figures, several times over a few years. The price points on some of them, 33, 34, which makes it, impossible when you get a rerun of a figure that you sold last year for $26, and this year the exact same figure, because it's just a rerun of the same mold, is now $35. But that's the way it is. That is the way it is. And there's margins. You have to meet them.
So what I wanted to ask, I didn't actually know that part of the story, Wes, but I'm glad you weighed in on that. What I wanted to ask, Tony, what I wanted to ask Tony is, do you end up with a lot of extra spare parts and heads and bodies when you're customizing? Because I never have enough heads to do head swaps. You're always short on something. So.
Oh man, but yeah, I've got a ton. Sometimes I'll take pictures of my fodder bin and post it, and that gets the comments just going. You know what I mean? It's like it's just funny because there's a bunch of stuff that all the figures that I moved out to make room for what I really want in there. Sometimes I'll attack those for fodder, and my fodder bins has got a bunch of stuff in there that you just look at. I haven't had to go so far as my buddy Dr. Giles Gifford, Yojo ARAH. He'll say I take from Turtles, I take from Power Rangers, I take from all these. I'm like, man, I've only been taken from Joe and Marvel Legends because that's been they're
the heads
roughly and they're interchangeable, and Valaverse too. Oh man, that just opened it up for customizing. But I got a shit ton of parts and heads, and let me know what you need.
Do the Valaverse are the neck pegs swappable with classified? I think they are, right?
Sometimes, but then you might have to Dremel the head a little bit to fit. No, I don't mess with the peg that much, so you just Dremel, make it to fit. Sometimes, a lot of times, actually, it fits really well. And what I'm finding out with some Marvel Legends figures that have the butterfly joints, you can pop them out, and they'll fit really nice and tight in the Valaverse torso.
Fair enough. Okay. Now, before I jump on my soapbox and talk about my limits or lack thereof, Goji, did you want to weigh in on any of this before I go back around the table?
Yeah, I've been taking a hard look at what I've had on pre-orders, because when I see something I like, I'll just go in and pre-order it at Big Bad, because they don't charge it till it comes out, and sometimes it's 6 months to a year. But lately, with the economy the way it's been, I own this home, I have to heat it, I have to pay for the electricity, and we know utilities are going through the roof. So about a month ago, I took a hard look at everything I had on pre-order, and I canceled probably about $600 worth of stuff, because I looked at it and said, do I really need this? Because there's certain things in your collection that you need and that you want. And the stuff I had on pre-order, I didn't really need, because I've got so much stuff already. So I just went ahead and canceled a ton of stuff. I didn't cancel everything, but I canceled a lot, and it's because of the way the economy's going. They say we're not in a recession in the U.S., but we're heading there, definitely. And with prices on everything going up, inflation, it's just not sustainable right now to just buy anything you want.
I think that's an interesting point when you bring up the need versus want. Have that same conversation with your friends that are not into collecting stuff, and they'll look at you and go, "Well, you don't need any of that." A non-collector just doesn't get the whole, no, I need this.
Well, that's the thing, right? So, look, I've been collecting as an adult for 20 years now as of this Christmas, and I still struggle with personal limits on everything. When I started, what got me in was G1 Transformers. Within 6 to 8 months of that, I got a few vintage Joes. As the Transformers modern game ramped up, I tried to get every character that appeared in the Generation 1 cartoon, and then No, there's like 168 characters or something that appears. That's already a collection in of itself. And then you start saying, well, this is pretty cool, and that's pretty cool, and that never appeared in the cartoon, and it's not bad, and that's a variant. So now your number is blown up, right? Then you get into the Masterpiece line, and I said I put the same limits that Wes did, but I did it on my Masterpiece collection, where it's got to be every character from season 1, 2 in the movie. But now you're buying them in Masterpiece form, and the price tag is just going like this. And then I said, okay, that's it. I got my 2 collections of Transformers, so that's fine. And I was skipping a lot of the Generation stuff. Although, sorry, I should say I got into it, then I got out of it, and I sold a lot of it. And then I saw War for Cybertron, Studio 86, and later on the Legacy line. So now I'm firing on 3 cylinders just on Transformers. G1, the recent modern, and the Masterpiece. Now, Masterpiece, I'm basically done, but show me the right figure, and I'll be back in for that period of time.
Let me ask you a question, Ken.
Yep.
This is Transformer specific. I know what I do. G1 is the flavor of the past however long since Chug started. Do you replace a mold when a better mold comes along?
No, not
you
anymore.
Don't really?
Unless it's significantly better. Like if the original mold was flawed, like the MPO 3 Starscream with the terrible hip skirts.
Oh, that's the one I have. the blue Starscream.
I would honestly say, but that's different because that blue-green Starscream was meant as a military look, so you're kind of hitting a different market. But when they did it with the anime colors, and then they went and corrected it with better, like less in the way hip skirts,
sure,
I got that one because it was a massive improvement. When they did the MP52 anime accurate release, I didn't feel the incremental amount was good and was high enough in order to jump over to make that change. Plus prices had skyrocketed. Now I'm sitting there, I'm like, it cost me like 2.5 to 3 times as much, let alone to make the change for something I didn't think was 2.5 times as good.
Oh, sure.
And that's just with Transformers, let alone the fact that the Transformer wall is there. And everything else here. What do I do? LJN Wrestling, Jax, and Mattel, G.I. Joe Originals, Classified. What do I do? Where do the limits go? But before I continue this part of the soapbox, I wanted to thank TJ Singh very much for the super chat. I'm not actually sure what currency that's in, but God, I wish it wasn't pound. I wish it wasn't like pounds or euros, but I don't think it is. But either way, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate this. He says he started in March 2021 and has almost 400 figures already. That's pretty good, actually. Like when I started, he's been. I guess TJ's been at it a year and a half. In my first year and a half, I didn't have 400 figures, so I guess you've made some good headway there. Says I've been addicted and I need to slow down, but I can't. I'm not able to save money since March 2021. TJ, I think it's because you probably just haven't found your balance yet because you're still ramping up, and you're ramping up at a time when the modern game is hitting its prime. A lot of us, when we got in and the modern game was just catching up to what the vintage was, it was easier to set limits. But
those are Indian rupees.
Thank you. Okay,
Indian rupees.
Cool. All right,
I'm interpreting that correctly.
Yeah, I saw when 2 of you started looking down at your phones. I kind of figured you're both looking up the currencies. You're both texting your wives because Ken's on a soapbox, and the only one who cares is Gojitron. But that's okay. We're all still friends at the end of the day. But I guess to TJ's point, I think it might just take you a bit longer to find your balance. But when you find your balance and you stop for a bit, you'll find that you regret missing out on things. Then you get back in and you ramp up again. It's this constant push-pull motion that I haven't been able to solve, right? And a lot of us haven't been able to solve. And we put limits on space. When I saw a well-priced USS Flag, grabbed it. Well-priced Terradrome, grabbed it. It doesn't get on display. Boulder Hill, less than a month ago, grabbed it. Ooh. It doesn't go on display, right? So
I can see mine in the next room.
I'm so jealous of you. I'm so jealous.
Your Boulder Hill?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I got a funny story. This is a bit of a segue. When my wife and I got married, we'd been together for a few years, and so like the toy collecting thing was well established, and she's part of that too. She has her own things that she likes to collect. That's so awesome. when we got married, I got Boulder Hill as a wedding gift.
Oh, she's
wow.
awesome, dude.
Yeah,
If there was
she's
any
awesome,
other phrase that she's a keeper,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it
yeah.
right there. God.
Well, speaking of Boulder Hill, I got mine missing maybe 4 pieces or so for $60 Canadian a month ago. Right,
Okay,
kind of a
well,
steal.
you are like,
And
yeah,
it came
that's a steal.
and it came with Buddy Hawk. No, it came with Alex Sector. And it was
Yeah.
missing the clips below to turn the gas pumps and a couple hoses and one other piece.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit yellowed. But you got to bear in mind $60, which is like 45 American. Bit of a steal. And then, of course, the same day that happened, Wes, you know Adam Hodgins and
I
Tavertco
do, yeah, I know
Car.
Adam. Yeah, sure.
They were at a show and they posted that they have a. That's why I have Scuba Pete's comment up here. I would take up his offer, except that Tavertco has a box of Boulder Hill, and he flashed it up the same day at a toy show in Ontario that I found it at a toy show in Victoria. And he was selling it and they didn't go. And he's like, I'll find a shipping quote for you, Ken, and we'll get that box to you. Oh, I have a Boulder Hill. I want a box for it. If I don't have a Boulder Hill, there won't be a box for it. That's just the way it is for whatever reason. So we'll see what happens.
That's a whole other subject, packaging, man.
Mm-hmm.
I collect toys, not packaging. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And TJ, you're so generous. Sends another 100 rupees super chat here and says it's a catch-22 that you had to catch up on a lot and so many amazing figures in the market, plus the 60 to 80%. Oh yeah, you would get a lot of customs overseas.
That's that number. Ouch.
Yeah. Wow. We get hit with customs, I think, at about 12% up here.
I don't know what the personal exemption is on importing. I think it's $200.
Oh, that's true. There are limits, and then it goes up.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, like I try to put limits on something. Like right now, I'm not collecting the sub teams for GI Joe Classified. I've kept my Marvel Legends X-Men to just the good guys who were on the core team for the Xavier Institute of Gifted Youngsters in the cartoon. But then I go and say, but Colossus was one of my favorites, and he wasn't part of that team. Even if he was part of the team in the comics, he wasn't part of the team in the and of course he came in a 2-pack with Juggernaut, so of course I grabbed both. Right. Yeah. And I'm sitting there trying to set limits, and I'm like, I got Juggernaut
you had to make.
Yeah.
Right.
The limits. The limits are crazy because I want the blue and gold team, but I love Nightcrawler and Shadowcat. They weren't on those teams. You know what I mean? So it's like you get pick and choose and get what you want. You know. Oh man, just fit them in somewhere.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I got that right there. That's Firestar. But over here, I have 2 Firestars, one for my Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and then I have a second Firestar here for my new Warriors. I'm just waiting for the rest of the Warriors to come out. Yeah.
So I just pulled you up on I just pulled you up to
that Speedball
so we
sitting
could
up
see
there
a little
beside
bit.
my Borg light there, and
Night
Thrasher and Rage and
the
the Blue Nova.
Wasn't Speedball the one who was the catalyst for how Marvel's Civil War?
Yeah,
it sure was.
Comics?
Blow up Connecticut.
Yep.
I figured you two would know.
When everybody was like crazy reading X-Men, I was that weird kid reading New Warriors. X-Men are the bomb.
New Warriors
New
was
Warriors
good.
is my team. They're my team. I love
That's
the
hilarious.
I love New Warriors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Bagley, he was a great artist.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely. He didn't Mark Bagley do a big run of Ultimate Spider-Man as well?
Yeah, he sure
Spider-Man.
did.
Anyway, sorry, just catching up with the chat's really hopping today. I'm like,
That's
just
awesome. I'm looking at it too.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's loving this topic right now. But look, I could go on about my lack of ability to set limits for myself because while wrestling started as golden age of the 80s plus attitude era, what happens when you say that to yourself? Who are you missing? Well, now I'm missing Randy Orton. Now I'm missing Yokozuna. Now I'm missing Roman Reigns. Now I'm missing John Cena. And then you start collecting the cast around those folks, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, then I'm limiting myself to this version of that character. And I'm not getting the prime version of Edge. Where does it end? Right?
Oh,
so,
man.
And then, of course, there's Mask, like you talk about there, Wes. But, of course, thankfully with Mask, it's a bit more finite, until Ramen Toy decides to ramp up. And then all of a sudden it becomes, where do we stop here?
I've been following their Shark prototype, and I'm not sold on their Thunderhawk. I mean, I've got a vintage Thunderhawk, but that Shark might be the piece that I go for, because, I mean, it's the piece that everybody wants because it never got produced.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his will be like the old Mask style with the one touch and the transformation, because like a lot of people who have a Shark kit, like I've got one, but it's a modded Playmobil. It's a modded Playmobil, which is the wrong car. Which Goji, as you know, some people, like our buddy Jody, is very detail oriented. He's like, that's the wrong car. Doesn't even say nice figure, says wrong car. I'm like, yeah, but I expect him to say that. He sponsors this StreamYard, so I can't hack on Jody too much. Yeah, and but it's like a parts former, right, where you put the pieces on, and then the proportions are a little different, so it's a Playmobil.
I don't know if you just saw the update the other day from those guys. They actually said that they're talking about making the hood fins magnetic parts forming parts. So
okay, that's okay though.
But that'll get the fins right up the windshield.
I was gonna say, like, at least it'll make it look right. Yeah, So yeah. Well, I mean, let's dive in.
Pete, thank you very much.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
no,
awesome.
Pete's
very
amazing.
Much.
He put everybody. He absolutely put everybody.
Hell, thank you.
Yeah, Travis will be happy about this too.
Right.
as will KJ. I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to bring all of you together, because we all kind of come from different fandoms. Maybe we haven't heard about each other yet. Like, Tony, we mostly hang out with the Toy Kind of Mood and Island and Misfit Toys and Slaughterhouse folks. Goji, I know you largely from the Iconicon folks, and Wes, we go back to the old Facebook pages. So,
that's right, yeah.
That's awesome.
Bringing everybody together from like the different communities, because I always hashtag the word one community, right? It's kind of my way of bringing the people together, right? But the real question I wanted to ask in the chat today, and Goji, you've been quiet, so you can cut me off anytime I go on a soapbox. But look, we talked about our own personal limits. The big question is, do any of you think that our collecting hobby has a finite lifespan? Will we see people age out, go into retirement homes, sell all their stuff, probably for pennies on the dollar? I'm still waiting for the Golden Age comics to crash, and they haven't. And for the Redline Hot Wheels original Sweet 16 to crash, and I haven't seen a crash in those, right? In those markets yet. So I keep telling myself that our stuff's going to be valuable forever, and that there will be new generations. But I could be wrong. So as much as I want this hobby to last, maybe it won't. Like Goji, how much time do you think we have before this hobby is no longer dominant, if it ever was?
I think it really depends on the properties. I think there are some properties that are going to be evergreen, that appeal to younger generations. Certainly Marvel's one. I know a lot of younger guys than me that collect Marvel Legends. I think to a large extent Transformers is an evergreen property, the way it reinvents itself every few years. But a lot of what's being targeted to us right now is specifically Generation X, things that Super 7 is doing. MOTU Origin, certainly. A lot of the stuff that Nacelle is going to be coming out with, Sectors and RoboForce. No one from outside of Generation X is going to care about that stuff. So I think as we age and our collections start getting sold off or inherited, donated, what have you, we're going to see a lot of those Generation X properties. The value of those original toys is going to go down because the market's going to be flooded with those. It's going to be more available. Like, I don't see anyone younger than us caring about Mask because they have no connection to it. We had the cartoons, we had all that media tie-in, and the younger generations just don't have any connection to that stuff. So, in the case of Marvel Transformers, yes, there'll be some interest in it, but other properties, no.
Fair enough. I'll weigh in a second. No, I'll get Wes in to weigh in before I do, and Tony as well. But first, before we keep going here, I just want to say, Jim Largo, thank you for the super chat. And he says here, a great conversation, and that he says his challenge is justifying collecting to complete a team, like we talked about, or displaying versus individual characters I enjoy. And that's the thing. What if there's a member of a team
real challenge,
that you don't really like? And for versus, like, Optimus versus Megatron, He-Man versus Skeletor. I don't know, like if you collect fighting characters like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, it's almost better to display them as a versus lineup rather than
pairing them up. That makes perfect sense to me. But you said it, Ken. It's easy to justify, like your Colossus, and he came with Juggernaut, so the value is there. It's easy to justify something when you want it.
Yep, 100%. I'm just trying to find the comment here. See, there we go. What I wanted to weigh in on before, is like, I know I wanted to go around the table before jumping on back on my soapbox again, which I'm not very tall, so Ken on a soapbox is about the same height as the average person anyway, so it doesn't really matter. What about toys in the 70s? Has that market crashed yet? I mean, look, Big Jim, I don't think that's crashed. Mego. And the early Star Wars, I don't think those have crashed yet. That's why I keep telling myself it's going to keep going. As for the whole Gen X thing, I was really choked when I looked up the cutoff age for Gen X a few months ago. I found out I'm technically a millennial, and that really, really like, because I look at a lot of millennials. I'm like,
are you like on one of those cusp years, Ken?
Yes. And what happens is I used to go to millennials and be like, in my day we had we used to have to walk up and push the TV without the remote, but of course that was a leftover TV from the 70s. It wasn't like, by the time I was born, obviously it was like that. We used to do this, we used to do that, and of course I find out technically I'm the same generation as them, even if I'm 13 years apart, and I'm just on the wrong end of the generation.
Friggin' millennials.
Yeah, like I think I'm born either, depending when you're cut off, as I'm either born 1 or 2 years after the Gen X cutoff to millennial, and I always thought I was a Gen X, and then I found out, I found out the hard way, that I was, so.
Also, with the question about 70s toys, it all has to do with rarity as well. I mean, we've all been, collecting new toys for the past, 25, 30 years? None of these things are going to be rare. Back in the 70s, that's when I grew up. I played with my stuff. My Micronauts broke. My Mego clothes got dirty. Their legs fell off. So a lot of that stuff is very hard to get in good condition these days. So it's also a question of rarity. And is anything we're collecting right now going to be rare 25 or 30 years from now? I don't think so.
Well, you got to look, like, I just got a book on the 60s G.I. Joe that Daryl DePriest wrote, and I don't think that stuff has crashed yet. Like, I still try to look up a 66 Green Beret, and they still go for like almost 200 Americans. So hopefully, I don't know. Look, I'm already halfway up my soapbox. Wes, you go. Goji, thank you, because you have an experience anyway.
What was it again?
That I don't have. So
what the hell are we talking about?
Yeah, really. I was totally fixated on what you were saying, Ken. Like,
oh yeah. The original question was, did you enjoy House of the Dragon?
Okay, listen. We had this conversation a couple days ago, and I still feel like I'm too stupid for that show. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I'm just like, what the hell just happened?
I'll go on and do an episode about that. I'm just not sure that the I don't like to use the word fan base, but I guess the community around Toy Connections, I'm not sure how deep they are into the TV space for that. So I've been debating about going on. But if I'm sitting there talking to myself, if I'm talking to myself, it's fine. I do it anyway. So
I will say this. I will say this. I'm gonna lead with this. I mean, you already made a reference to it. Will the hobby stop?
That was the question.
I don't think it will stop completely, but for us, as of the generation that we are, we may be some of the last people where toys were fundamentally part of our childhood before electronic devices became the go-to thing. I don't know. I mean, I agree. I agree with Goji in the sense that a lot of our stuff is evergreen. And so for those properties that have endured, I think they will continue to endure. But there's a whole lot of 90s stuff that I hear I hear other guys and girls talking about that, like, I just don't know anything about it.
Mhm.
It doesn't resonate with me. I have no connection to it. Like, I know virtually nothing about Power Rangers,
Mhm.
and it's one of the hugest brands in the world, but I don't care about it. So
Yeah.
it is a generational thing. But I can't think of a new toy that was launched in the 90s, in the 2000s, that I would say has the staying power to keep going. Goji, you'd mentioned Transformers, about how they refresh. I actually had this conversation in one of the toy groups, and the people didn't believe me. Transformers has been on retail shelves every year since it came out. It has never had a year off.
Right.
Stuff like that. I mean, how many toy brands can boast that?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So will it end? It will end for me. It will end for me simply because I will become too old, where it just won't matter to me. And already that's kind of where I am now. Like I said, I've already downsized my collection once, and I have been on the edge of looking around my collection room going, how much does this really actually mean to me?
Same here.
And some days I actually think, today, if I had a giant, if I had a bin in the driveway, I could put it all in the bin and it could just disappear and I would be fine. 24 hours later, I'm like, no, I need it all back. So there is a I'm not there yet. I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40, and I know that the day is coming where ultimately it comes down to, you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you.
Right.
I don't have anybody in my family that I can pass it on to that would enjoy it. So there will come a time in my life where I will have to be the one to dispose of it. How that looks, what it looks like, I don't know what that will be, and I don't know when it will be, but I can say that for me, it is coming.
Yeah, I think that's a big factor too. Do you have anyone to pass it on to? Do you have any kids or grandchildren? Yeah, I think that's something a lot of collectors are going to have to look at our age as well. Because if you have someone to pass it on to, that kind of keeps it as a goal for you to keep it around. But if you don't, and it's just for you, that kind of changes the whole ball game.
I learned it really early on when I started collecting in 2007, and my kids, my two let me be the bin. I like that. My two boys could not give two craps about any of the pop culture stuff that I'm into. They have no interest in it. So it's worthless to pass it on to them.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I got 3 nephews. They're a little older than teenagers, and a daughter that don't give a shit. They love it, and they might. Oh, this is my uncle's. I'm going to display it, and that's it. Or take pictures and post them on Instagram and post them over here. This is my uncle's collection. It was his collection. Or then I'm going to get. I feel the same way as you guys do, but am I like gonna? Wow, am I one day gonna take all my comics, cash them in, and get a new Harley, or something, something more, I don't know, adult say, or get something, to that effect. But then, like Wes, damn, I wish I didn't do that.
I already have seller's remorse. When I downsized, I got rid of just over 200 figures, and it was a mix of Transformers and MOTU classics. And I have some serious seller's remorse on the MOTU stuff because I was all in during those years.
Yeah. Oh man, and that's where my collecting action figures came from. Comics. I want something to hold. I want something to touch. I want something to take pictures of. I want something to pose. And then that led to 2002 to 2003 that Marvel Legends Toy Biz came out, and I finally have something now. And then it grew into this, and waiting on G.I. Joe, waiting on that, and it came out. I'm like, all right. And I didn't care. Everybody says, oh, they're the classified look with the armor and all that. I don't care. I'm a customizer. None of that bothers me. Yeah.
The Fortnite Joes.
Right, exactly. We'll go into like a store, and I'll look at the paint detail, and I'm like, oh, this one sucks. That has this and that. My daughter's like, but you can fix that.
Yeah.
I can. Let me buy it then. You just sold me. Hilarious.
So have you weighed in on the topic yet, Tony? Is it? Are Are we on a finite span for our toy collecting? Are we going to see all this stuff on eBay for pennies on the dollar in 25 years? Or 10 years?
Yeah, exactly. That's a crazy question, and it's kind of scary, and I don't want to answer it. I'm not feeling like, I don't want there to be an end, but hey, in real life, it could be. You know, I'm glad. Like I said, I had quit Marvel Legends because they gave me everything I wanted already. My love is the street level urban heroes. You know, the X-Men, the Avengers. I got DCU. I only wanted the satellite era JLA. You have the Magnificent Seven there, and a few cool ass others, and then some villains from Marvel, and that's cool. But to have an end to it, and there might be, but I said that about comics, and I'm not giving those up. They might be in the closet chilling, and when I get that wild hair up my ass, I want to read that storyline. I want to read Civil War again. I want to read Secret War again, and it's there, you know. And then, you know, you make a nice bookshelf and you display it wherever you want, and it could be a talking for your guests coming over, and what is this, you know? And it becomes that nostalgia, and it already is nostalgia, you know. So, there might be a time, but right now I don't see it going anywhere. Or I see it displayed somewhere in the house. Period. Maybe I'll move this next to the bar. You see, you got all the booze, then you got the figures, and then you know, make a nicer display out of it. I don't know, but right now I'm still going strong with the customs, and I'm waiting for more Joes to come out, you know. And like I said, cherry picking the Marvel Legends, and I don't want to be done yet. I'm done, but I don't want it to go away. But then I was talking to other people in Toy Kind of Mood in my chat about in the toy aisles. Usually I'm the only one in there. I mean, I don't know what time I'm going, but there's no kids. There's no kids buying the shit we buy. I don't think so, other than maybe some YouTuber's kid or something like that. But I see them buying little kid stuff, but not, you know, and then, you know, the Nerf stuff and the little stuff. But in figures, I'm just seeing guys like me in there taking it, and then that's it. It's like, whoa, this is really geared to our age people, and it's like, I just see little kids in the aisle, and if they're in the aisle, they're buying little kid stuff. So it might, I don't know. There you have it.
Every time I go through the Hot Wheels aisle or the die-cast aisle at Walmart, and it is like torn apart, the reality that a bunch of 50-year-old men have done that, just it makes you angry. Like, come on, guys.
Right.
Yeah. Look, I hear a lot of what you folks are saying, and I guess not everyone. I love studying toy history, so like even if I wasn't into a line back in the day, but I can draw a connection to what I like, I will still look it up. So to me, I'm kind of like, I don't want this to ever end. Like, I'm convincing myself that 100 years from now, someone will still be going, "Ooh, look at my 1985 Snake Eyes." Like, things gonna disintegrate in 100 years, but I'm in very much denial about that. That particular.
That's a great point, though. I mean, there is a historical aspect of it, and if there aren't people doing that aren't preserving the history, it will disappear completely. But I will say this, Ken, and I have no way to justify it, but I would say that you are the exception and not the rule.
Okay.
You know,
that's fair.
The toy historian. I would say very few of us collectors would be like actual historians that like really dive in on it on a scholarly level. I know I don't.
Well, there's that, and there's the fact that what do you call it? Like, true. I mentioned I managed to get the Daryl DePriest book on the official G.I. Joe guide, and I can't wait to go back there and have a look and draw some parallels. Like when I saw the Marine Royal ceremonial uniform, and I'm like, that's exactly what Gung Ho's version 2 looks like. When I look at the 1966 Green Beret, I look at it and say, well, I think this is kind of what Falcon was based on. Obviously, Green Beret existed long before then, but he was the introduction into the Ara line, right? I think. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a Green Beret before him in 82 to 86, but I don't think there was
Stalker. One. I can't think of one.
Well, Stalker was a ranger. He had a Green Beret.
Well, here's the thing. Like, for us in Canada, Ken, the Army, we all wear green berets. In America, a green beret, the color of beret, that is a status symbol. That is, he's a green beret.
Right.
Okay, so
the Rangers wear tan. Yeah. So.
Yeah, they wear tan now.
Yeah.
Remember when Rangers used to wear black beret? That was a
They used to wear black.
But Stalker is not strictly called a green beret, I don't think, right? I think he's officially a Ranger.
He's not. It's just Ranger, yeah.
Yeah.
But right, in different country west, it might be a little different. But that's kind of how, I mean, but like I love drawing parallels. And, you know, my goal eventually is to be able to cover toy lines that I didn't grow up with and preserve the history, right? Like my ultimate goal for this channel is to make it greater than me. And maybe I'm soapboxing a little too much here, but like if I can preserve the history a little, you know, beyond my lifespan, I've succeeded, right? I think that's a very lofty goal. I don't see how much difference one collector can make, but it's not going to stop somebody from trying, right? Like you hear the passion when I do my history videos, right? I'd love to go back. I'd love to cover 1978 Star Wars. I wasn't around in 78. I don't care. I'm glad somebody was, and I can relate that back to like 1986 when I was collecting other toy lines and know the thrill people were feeling back in 78 when the original Kenner line launched, or when Mego launched, or when, like I said, the 60s G.I. Joe. But speaking of 60s G.I. Joe, that's basically, I don't want to say our parents' generation because my dad was already like a college age student, but it's like your young uncle's age group. But that generation hasn't died yet, and I kind of feel we'll get the warning signs when that generation dies or that generation tanks. But then even then, it's like, okay, the gap between the 1964 movable fighting man era to the 82 a real American hero era, that's an 18-year gap. So when that 1964 era tanks, does that mean, okay, you got 18 years and that's the lifespan? I'm like, that's a long time.
I don't think so. I don't think you can
I can't transpose it like that.
I don't think so. I will say this: manufactured rarity, manufactured collectability. That is a huge issue within our hobby. Again, and I no offense to anybody who is an inbox collector, but again, not everything that it comes out is going to be the holy grail of toys in 15 or 20 years. Like you say, Goji, you said you played with everything. We all did. We opened up everything. We played with it. And it has aged the way it has. I feel it is naive and maybe a bit myopic to approach toy collecting from the I'm buying this now and there's one for me and there's one to resell and one for 20 years from now. I don't think that is that's not a good strategy. That's like banking on the lottery as your retirement plan.
Yeah.
You know, I will say this is another interesting perspective, is that Ken, you had said, do you see a day where the stuff that we love now will go for pennies on the dollar? And I'm going to play devil's advocate and say yes, because right now, the people who can afford to to purchase a collection that might be several hundred pieces are probably not going to want to pay you what it's worth to sell it individually. People walk into my shop, they bring me a collection of, say, 100 action figures. And when I tell them, you know, I give them a figure that is about 30% of retail value, they get offended.
Yeah.
But that is the reality. People who are going to buy an entire collection are not going to want to pay for it. And so you're going to have a bunch of disgruntled collectors. My collection's worth $100,000. The guy only offered me 25. And now,
but that's
5 years
though.
later, is it though? Because now 5 years later, you're still sitting on it going, I should have taken the 25.
Oh, I see what you're saying. If a person's looking at it as a retirement fund, it's different. When I meant pennies on the dollar, I meant like a complete crash. Like your $100 figure now goes for $5. If it's something like, if you're trading a collection, and I get this on a smaller level than you because I have a toy booth at the toy shows locally here. Yeah. When someone asks me what I pay for it, a lot of times I try 50%, but if I know that it's highly prized item, I'll go up to 60. I've even gone to 65.
Is very fair. 50% is my benchmark. I will not go higher than 50%. Only because you
have shop overhead though, right? Like I may go a little higher if I think it's like an item that I know somebody really wants and it makes my booth at the shows look really good.
In order for me to offer more than 50%, it means that item is going into my personal collection and is not going to be sold in my store. That's the reality.
And I've heard people say before as resellers, "Oh, it's going in my collection. You should give me a good deal." I'm like,
No.
you just took your retailer hat off and your collector hat on. You should be paying a full
That's right.
dollar on the dollar.
Yeah, you should
save
pay
your
what it's
save your
worth.
discount for when you're being a retailer. That's what I
Absolutely.
tell people.
Yeah.
And they don't get it sometimes.
Again, though, what I'm saying, I think actually goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Goji, our age. We are all, it's using Gen X as that example. We are all going to age out of the hobby at roughly the same time. And maybe there will be a flooding of the secondary market of all this stuff. And like I said, if you get, 100 collectors or even 1,000 collectors in North America, all trying to dump hundreds of pieces at the same time, and nobody wants to pay for it, that is how you have a scenario where, there could be, all our childhood toys on the market, pennies on the dollar. Not saying that it will, but there is a scenario where it could.
Right, and like right now, nostalgia is a driving factor in what we're seeing in toy values and toy prices. When we're passing on, the younger generations that will be in a position to buy our stuff aren't going to have that nostalgia.
No.
Because they didn't grow up with the comics, they didn't grow up with the cartoons, they have no connection to that stuff. That's why I say, once our collections hit the market, they're not going to be worth anything because no one's going to want to buy them.
Yeah, have no idea. What is this? I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what this is.
Yeah, they have no vested, heartfelt interest in this like we grew up with. And now with Joe, there's no movies, there's no toys. I mean, there's no movies, there's no comics, there's no games. I mean, it's like, and it's all special order.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why I grudgingly like what He-Man's doing with the CGI cartoon, because it's preserving the lifespan of the franchise a little bit, right? Like when you look at people who collect Marvel, Star Wars, Transformers, if they're a generation younger than us, their Optimus Prime is not the original 84 truck, right? It's a certain live action franchise, right? Marvel has a bit more parody where they didn't change the look of the character too much, but like you can't exactly talk to somebody in another generation and say, well, what about the Walt Simonson run of Thor? Their Thor will always be Chris Hemsworth. And they don't have any attachment to Walt Simonson's run. If you're lucky, they might have some attachment to J. Michael Straczynski's run from like 15 years ago, because the artwork, the coloring is more bright. I can't say the artwork is better. It's about the same, but the coloring is brighter. The digital technology is better.
I've been away from comic books for a long time, but I actually find it was like eye-opening and kind of funny, but kind of not, that the comics that influence the movies have now come full circle, and now the look of the films has now influenced the look of the comic. Like that is how you stay relevant. Mm-hmm. Where are you making all your money? Oh, these movies are making billions of dollars. We better make it look like that.
Well, there you go, right? And to a lot of people, their Star Wars, and in a different generation, they may be looking at their Star Wars as the Mandalorian. Like Din Djarin is their guy, not Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, right? Or their Boba Fett is a guy who had more than 8 minutes of screen time and said 4 lines. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I don't know, right? Like I'm the one who's in denial, saying that this hobby is going to last, the next for centuries and centuries, and people are going to be going, oh yeah, this 85 Snake Eyes, 84 Optimus, this
people. We really don't want to say it's going to end. Yeah, we don't want to say it's going to end.
Look at everything behind me and look at everything behind you, gentlemen. I can't imagine getting rid of it. Like, yeah, sure, small chunks here and there. Like I've trimmed down my wrestling shelf recently, right? But am I really going to get rid of the main stuff? Now, if I live to 70, maybe I don't go down and look at my toys anymore, and maybe I just say, kid, do whatever you want with it. Just sell it and for pennies on the dollar and buy yourself something
and
nice.
Don't let me see you do it.
And don't let me see you do it. Right?
Nobody wants to see an old man cry.
Yeah. Well, speaking of old man, I got a question for the panel. Is Axl Rose considered a great man?
Axl?
November starts on Tuesday, so I think Bob Squad's comment is absolutely relevant. I think it's a great song.
I was a huge fan of GNR. Loved the Illusion records. And I listened to them like front to back to front nonstop for years. And I would say that the signature song is not November Rain.
What?
It's
Welcome to the Jungle?
Estranged.
Oh. Okay.
From the Use Your Illusion era, it's estranged to me. November Rain.
I think Jungle was from the previous album, was from Appetite for Destruction, right? So,
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was. So
that was
estranged, really.
87. Yeah.
Really
strange, I would say. Yep.
Because a lot of people, if it's not November Rain, people prefer Don't Cry.
Which version of that? There's two.
I know there's two versions. There's the alternate lyrics. So maybe if you combine the two, but apparently Bob Squad agrees with you. So, and I
thank you, Bob.
I remember the day that Axl Rose turned Montreal into a riot. I think that was the day that, because they were co-headlining with Metallica. If I recall correctly, the story was James Hetfield, halfway through their set, James Hetfield did not realize that the pyrotechnic alignment had changed, and he got some burns on his hands. So he had to leave. They cut their set midway, and then Axl kind of came, basically made it clear he wasn't going to perform, and he left. So everyone who came to see Metallica and Guns N' Roses got half a Metallica set, and it was a riot. I think that's how the story goes.
Wow.
I think so. Like, I'm not a big metal head kind of guy, but I know all the songs, and I had my era with classic music. Funny how that's classic music now. Still think of it as modern, but I think that's the story.
You're
of
on
how
the
that
oldies
went.
station, and suddenly they're playing all your music, and you're like, oldies? Oh my god!
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
And I am a bigger Metallica fan than GNR, Ryan, but I do think November Rain is a masterpiece, and I might take that song over. Would I take it over any Metallica song? I'm not sure now. It got me thinking. We need to do a music stream.
Yeah,
I'm down.
We'll be saying sacrilegious stuff there, Metallica, baby.
Yeah.
I like Load. I don't know you guys.
It depends on which song in Load. Until It Sleeps is an amazing.
I think there's really nothing on that record that was bad. I kind of liked it all. Radio friendly, fine by me.
Mm-hmm. And Bob, we forgive you for derailing this. It's okay. I got to the end of my key question, went around the table, didn't get the confirmation bias I wanted. Everyone else seems to think that we're on a finite span for the hobby. So, and Load's got some good songs.
I wanted to keep going. All day. Like the chat was blowing up with new lines coming out, like Mythic Legions and stuff like that, and
I wanted to talk about that right there.
Yeah, and then new stuff like all these third party creators and 3D printers that are making stuff for our figures now. Like, oh yeah, look at that. It's crazy, and their horses and all that stuff is insane.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get the Headless Horseman, but I missed out on it. So.
There's more life to it.
For the guys in America, did either of you guys go in on the Dungeons and Dragons classic cartoon figures?
No.
They just got put up for pre-order at GameStop here in Canada. I just ordered the first 3.
Yeah. My D&D will always be dice rolling and board game style.
Mine too. By the the number of books out there, but still, man.
Yeah. You got a bunch on your shelf there.
Let's look. This is all like 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder.
Oh wow.
This is all Star Wars, and this is all Palladium books like Rifts. Yeah. So I'm a role player from way back.
And I just want to read out TJ's super chat here. Says that music was better in the 80s and 90s, and he misses the 90s. Right?
That's so true. So damn true.
I mean, I was 7 years old when the 80s ended, so I remember the 90s quite well. Right?
Not gonna lie, my Spotify playlists are
70s
dominated
as well.
by 80s music.
Yeah.
My oldies are my parents' oldies, and it's not really right, because you ask me oldies, and some other people might say 90s and 80s. I'm like, what? No, my oldies. I mean, go back to Al Green, go back to the Isley Brothers and the OJs and all that stuff.
Oh wow, yeah.
My parents were listening to that when I was little, so those are my oldies. So, it's just really weird.
Yeah, a lot of great comments in the chat. So.
Oh yeah, the chat is blowing up.
Absolutely. So we got a tiny bit of time left here, and the one thing that I did want to talk about as far as collecting limits are concerned, vintage versus modern. How do you decide? I know, Wes, you've touched on this a little bit earlier on. How do you decide when you have a franchise you really love?
Yeah.
Do you go vintage? Do you go modern? Do you do both? What are your limits? Goji, I'm going to throw you right into the fire on this one. You tell
Well,
me.
the collection behind me is actually what I consider collection 2.5. My first collection lasted from my childhood toys to the 70s, from the 70s to the mid-90s. I sold all those. My second collection was all Transformers from the 90s to the early 2000s. I sold all those, and then I started this one in 2019. So as far as vintage versus modern, I already owned pretty much everything vintage. I had stuff that people would consider grails these days that I sold off. So the fact that I already owned all that stuff and sold it does not compel me to go back and rebuy it for more than I sold it for in the first place. So I'm happy getting modern toys right now of the vintage franchises. And it's easy to do right now with all the nostalgia toys hitting the market.
Okay. I didn't realize that your collecting had gone back and forth and back and forth, but I think a few of us have been there. Wes, what about you? Vintage and modern.
Well, you know that I came to it later in life only because, much like Goji, I had a very large toy collection as a kid. But you know that those are in the days where like I didn't have a personal investment in it. It was my parents and relatives and friends and Christmases and birthdays. So in our house, there was this point where it was like, okay, it's time to grow up now. And I didn't have a choice in that. So everything was gotten rid of on my behalf. I didn't have a say in that.
Oh,
and
wow.
That was my life, right? You get on with it. It wasn't until, like I said, many years later where the nostalgia thing kind of just went off. Bing! Coming into toys in 2007 meant, for me, was, oh, look, here's a brand new line of Transformers that's based on the G1 Transformers that I used to play with. And that was my gateway. And I've treated toy collecting kind of the same way I treat cars. I will take technology over muscle any day. So to me, you know, modern sculpts and modern molds just look better. They look better. They're more articulate, and I will take that over 5-point articulation nostalgia beats every day of the week. So yeah,
fair enough.
Don't get me wrong. There's some great vintage toys out there, but by and large, my collection is 99.999% modern for those reasons.
All right. Well, we got a few people who agree with you. So, more than a few actually. Tony, I think I know which way you're going to go with this, but let's hear you say it.
Okay. What do you think?
Oh, what do I think?
Yeah.
I'm going by what I see on Instagram, which is just it's a lot of modern, and it's your take on animated style G.I. Joe, custom figures between the Marvel Legends and all that. I thought you were like modern all the way is kind of how I read you, but maybe I read you wrong.
No, you're good. Mostly modern. I mean, you know, they're coming out with O-rings, O-ring gels. Not for me anymore. It's like, you know, I kept wanting them. Man, I want them. Because Marvel Legends did it to me, you know. I want the 6-inch. I want them bigger now. I want them looking better than, you know, just the little guys. I'm done with the little guys, you know. But for some people, hey, those vintage Joes are awesome. They're still awesome, and oh man, it's just now I won't. They're you know, Hasbro's doing the O-rings, and I'm like, as you can tell on the other podcasts and stuff, I'm not doing it. That's another trap to fall into. But then it's so easy to get vehicles for those little guys. You know what I mean? It's so easy. It's like, don't do it. So I just stick to my modern 6-inch figs and leave it at that, and that keeps me sane and that keeps me good. And you know, my comics are not going anywhere. And so when you say vintage, so I know that Superpowers just came out with some new stuff. So are Superpowers the original? Will they be considered vintage, the 80s ones? Or
I would say so. And what you've got now, like the ones that are coming out, are like retro style, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Retro style modern, right? So
yeah, and sometimes I mean they look great so far, but the card art is all over the place. I mean, you got Jose Luis Garcia Lopez Superman on the cover. Then you got Jim Lee's Hush Batman on the card art. Then you've got a new 52 Flash, and it's like, okay, I like it, but damn, there's not. You see people wanting to say, hey, what happened to all the, you know, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez art on every single one. I would love that, but because that's more vintage, you know. But I'm digging it, and this is what it is. Me and who was it? Bobby from Toy Kind of Mood. We're saying we get them in our hands, and we're like, damn, these are like a slightly bit better than McDonald's Happy Meal toys. But
I got you.
But it's like they're still kind of cool. That's why I saved the boxes. I open up the boxes in a certain way that I can put them back in there and maybe put them on the wall or maybe something like that. Those are the only ones because the card art is so awesome looking to me, you know. And but other ones I'm just putting them behind glass so I can stare at them, and I make customs, and that's the fun for me. But no, like I said, I'd be in trouble if Mask came back full swing because, man, like I said, I collected Masters of the Universe, Mask, Superpowers, G.I. Joe, a little bit of Transformers, and then when I grew up a little bit more, like you guys are saying, you're going to be done with those. I sold those to get into video games, and like I said, I regret the Superpowers and the Mask the most because look at Masters of the Universe came out, they're killing it. I'm like, damn. Anytime I want, because in the stores they're still in, they're still there, and not hard to find at all, you know. And then they're getting a little bit more articulated. I'm like, ooh, that should I dip my feet in that water? Do I try? Nah, just relax, you know what I mean? So no, man, it's more modern. But then when you say modern, you know how G.I. Joe started out like the video game they had. I can't remember what it was. You know, they have armor pieces and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like, oh, that's not my Duke and all that. But the customizer in me, I can change it to what I want. You know what I mean? I think the few of them I haven't touched are the ones that are really and stay good. Like, you know, the old school Roadblock, the Stalker that just came out. They don't need any customizing to me. Maybe some loadouts from, you know, Gridiron Studios make them look awesome.
Studio, shout out.
You know, they're just killing it all. They're just killing it on their loadouts, and they're just coming out with stuff from my Dreadnoughts I just made. Woo! So, like Ryan says, the freaking wallet assassins are striking again. I'm like, oh my goodness. So that keeps me in it, man. The new stuff.
Oh, that's fair. With regards to vintage versus modern, one of the things that keeps me attached to vintage is if I wished I could have collected something, but I just was not. If a toy line came out when I was 2, like Transformers, I remember collecting Transformers in 86, 87, 88, 89. Completely missed 84, unless there was some like super leftover stuff. Like I did manage to get some late leftovers. And I missed a good chunk of 85. So me collecting vintage is filling the gap that I just missed. Knowing I could watch the cartoon, seeing Optimus Prime, and not being able to pull him off the shelf because I was watching reruns. Because the episodes, when I started watching Transformers, it was 86 already. So I caught all the post-movie stuff. Lots of memories of that. But the reruns were always of the previous 2 seasons. So... same thing with Joe's. By the time I got into it, because you're as a kid, you're never into 10 toy lines at once, or maybe you are, but I wasn't. I got into it closer to the Tiger Force era, so I was pulling Tiger Force Duke and Tiger Force Frostbite and the Tiger Cat off the shelves, and wondering, oh, how come the Snow Cat looks different from the one I have when I'm watching the reruns of the cartoon? So for me, getting that vintage is making up the gap that I just missed.
Yeah.
And then because I was the right age to collect Turtles in its prime, I don't have any vintage Ninja Turtles. I mean, yeah, they cycle through my collection here and there when I have stuff go through my sales pile at my toy show, at the toy shows I go to. But all my Turtles are modern, right? Because I'm fiddling with them from a perspective of they didn't have those extra articulation joints at their elbows and knees when I was a kid. So that to me is why I still do a lot of vintage, right? I largely missed out on WWF LJN, right? But WWF LJN, they only go up to a certain year of characters, and then if you want to get the Attitude Era guys, you got to go modern. So it's like, where's your catch 22 here? So that's kind of why I do both. Right, and then you have Mask where you have no choice.
I would
Right?
say there is nothing off limits, but again, it goes back to that emotional, like it's really got to hit me in like the yeah.
Mhm.
Which is why, like, for me, the Mask thing, Mask is the only vintage toy line that I did not own a single piece from as a child.
Wow.
Everybody around me had it. So as an adult, that was the one that I could justify and go, listen, I didn't own this as a kid. I really love it. To me, Mask is the combination. You take the best of G.I. Joe, smash it together with the best of Transformers.
Yep.
It's Mask, right? So
yes, exactly.
So easy for me to go, yes, I need to get into this. But again, same thing, putting limits on it. Season 1 only. The racing series. No.
Again, I got into Mask during the racing series. So
wow.
What happened there?
Completely.
Right. But they still had some leftovers on the shelf because for some reason Mask came to Canada a bit later in my area of the world, so you could still get Rhino. I remember the day that my cousin who lived next door at the time came home with Rhino, and I couldn't wait to play with the darn thing. And we had some crossover battles with my Joes and Transformers because it just made sense. Yeah, the scale was a little off, but when you're shooting lasers across the living room, who cares, right?
Who cares? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I cared and I noticed, but it didn't care enough to stop me from playing with my cousin toy battles. So yeah. Wow. Well, a lot of great thoughts here. I almost wish I'd allocated a bit more time into this and throw some more curveball questions in and out of the way. I guess what I'm saying is I don't have limits.
Yeah.
Sucks. But and what do you do when stuff like Gridiron Studios comes out with stuff, right? Like there were figures I was never going to get. I was not going to get Classified Duke, and then we've somehow lost Wes. I guess internet connection might have died, but though I wasn't going to get Classified Duke, and then all of a sudden they made the command loadout. What do I do?
See?
Right?
Yeah.
I had extra Cobra infantries I wasn't sure what to do with. Then they made the Televiper kit, and I was messaging you about it. Right?
Yeah, that's what they have me doing. And then I'll be like, oh, there's a custom I want to make, but dang, I gotta look for these parts and that parts. And then Mark will make something. I find the parts real quick and make one in a day. You know?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like I went ahead, check this out. I went ahead and I always knew I was gonna make my Dreadnoks. I always knew. And I know they're Ripper's coming, Buzzer's coming. They've announced them. Hasbro, they're gonna come out, whatever in the future. There have been reveals, but I'm like, so what? I want to make mine, and now that I've got them, now Mark's playing catch up to me. Now he's making stuff for them instead of me. Ooh, look at that loadout. Ooh, I can make a bazooka. Ooh, I can make a short fuse, and then stuff comes out, and it's like, oh hell yeah.
Well, you know what I'm really gonna regret? Nashi, maybe I won't. If the purple Hiss Tactician is the winner.
Okay.
You just know Mark from Gridiron is going to make a Techno Viper loadout kit for it.
Maybe, yeah.
Think that through for a second, Tony.
Yeah.
The rest of you know the 87 Techno Viper in the purple.
Purple.
I could see the Hiss Tactician becoming that.
Televiper had some purple stuff on him too. I threw one of the. What was that purple? I think it was Cannonball from Marvel Legends. He had a purple vest.
Yeah, New Mutants.
I took it. I took that and threw it on my Televiper. It looks better. Oh man, yeah, the one that I still got to show you how to pop the arms off, Ken. Take the pins out. Oh man,
you got to heat them up and
heat gun is where it's at.
Heat gun or blow dryer, hair dryer.
Blow dryer. Blow dryer is fine.
Yeah,
I don't like boiling the water and getting them all wet and all that.
I do that when I have to, like when it's really frozen.
Sure.
Then I have no choice.
When I started.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I didn't back that's not true. I pulled my pledge on the Hiss tank. So I technically didn't back it, but I do have a buddy who says all he wants is the driver and the Hiss. So he said, if you want to buy the other figures, Ken, be my guest. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't mind having a Hiss female. I mean, it's still a Hiss driver, but it's the female driver.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting female troopers left, right, and center now. Right? And depending on the tactician's color, I may want that too, right? So we'll see.
Yeah. Now I'm pulling for the purple, the Delta.
I only want that because I think Mark from Gridiron is going to do a Techno Viper. He might be watching this. I don't know. He's been on the the show before.
Yeah, I hope so.
Right. But we've got a lot of people who think differently in the chat.
I love red and black too. I love red and black. Match the tank. I don't know.
Match the tank. Well, we're coming up on the 90-minute mark almost here. But any closing thoughts on the lifespan of our hobby? Whoever wants to dive in can dive in. Open forum for the next few minutes here.
I think toy collecting will always be around in some way, shape, or form. It's just what is collected in the future is the question. And like I said, I think it'll be those evergreen franchises more so than the nostalgia stuff we're seeing now. Because really, what do kids growing up now, what are they going to have nostalgia for in the future? Fortnite?
TikTok?
There's not... Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Dude.
we had comic books. We had after school and Saturday. We had after school and Saturday morning cartoons to tie in with the toys that were destination, appointment viewing. They don't have that now with streaming and on demand. So the kids today don't have nostalgia for anything. They're not going to. So I think toys in some form will survive. Like like you said, Ken, the Mythic Legion stuff, that kind of thing that's not tied to any sort of property, that's just toys for toys' sake, right? I think that type of thing will survive, but what we're seeing now with the big nostalgia boom, that's not going to last.
Okay, that's fair.
God, don't it sound sad though? Shit.
I think the nostalgia. I'm going to pick up on that one, and I'm going to offer a slightly different opinion and say that I think the nostalgia will always be around. It's just what will people be nostalgic towards? And I think, I'll use the video game industry, something that makes more money than Hollywood. People tend to forget that there are some pretty outstanding video game titles or video game franchises that will endure. Super Mario. Yeah. Those type of things. And I think that in that sense, I think the key is whatever, if it has media support, if there is a media tie-in that keeps it in the people's face or in the public eye, those are the brands that will tend to survive kind of the way it has now, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I'm not sure. Like, I could keep going with this topic. Like, if I wasn't looking at the timer ticker and everything else I have to get done today, I would totally keep going, and we'd still be sitting here 6 hours later. 14 piss breaks and
we could do it
munching my lunch and everything like that. So but I do
alcohol
and all that. Though I drank a bit more on Thursday than I should have, and I feel a bit.
The language gets a little different and riskier.
Yeah, we're technically supposed to be family friendly, right?
Sipping club here.
I hear you.
Yeah.
On today's episode, we're trying this brand of rum.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. What cocktails do you like?
That's right.
Cocktails or beer? Yeah, exactly.
I think some of you have hit on a good point there. Like a franchise like Mario can keep going, and you can keep playing that old tune again and again. I mean, maybe people don't go back to play the 8-bit Mario. No, they do. They might just for nostalgia's sake. But like, look, with the technology evolution of video gaming, right? Mario will always be around. But like Goji says, kids in our generation will not understand waiting for your programming slot. They have it all on demand. Like I was trying to explain to my 7-year-old recently. You understand having to learn to tell the time, wait for your program to come on. He just looks at me like, yeah, whatever, Dad. Then he goes and looks up his Minecraft stuff. Right? So, yeah. Wow. Look, I know everyone here is in the chats basically saying they want an extended stream.
6 hour stream. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Some people want 10. I'm gonna find a day where I have no obligations, and this may be when my kid is grown up and I've let my wife off the hook from, well, or she lets me off the hook, other way around, and I'm just gonna be like hit like 4 topics in the same day. Just take breaks to like, I use the bathroom in the middle of streams anyway, but take breaks for eating and whatever I need to do, and just be like hit 4 topics in the same day. Start like, you know, early in the morning, late morning, afternoon, mid-afternoon, evening. Just do it one day and just do like my own sort of like stream binge.
Oh man, yeah, ACBA does like 4 or 5 hour streams. Like, whoa.
Sorry, who does? Who does?
ACBA, Articulated
ACBA,
Comic
okay.
Book Art.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do like 3-4 hours. I'm like, really? Look, wow, that's long.
They probably are able to do it for a living.
True, that's true.
Right, because like I know like some channels like Cultaholic Wrestling, all they do like they're always streaming, they're always putting up videos, they're always putting up news. Like you'll see 3-4 videos or streams a day from them.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's just because it's clear. I guess with what they have almost 750,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
I guess you can do it. I guess you can pretty much do it full time when your subscriber base is that big, and if you have sponsors.
Yeah,
right.
True.
So
true. That's true.
I think if you put enough people together, look at this. We're here. I've never met Goji. I've never met Tony, and we've sat here for the last hour and a half, and we've had this like pretty awesome conversation. And I think that's kind of you bring like-minded people in, and you just kind of let them go, and the show will serve itself.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the thing is, you know, like if people share the channel, then the revenue split is in a weird way where you can't live off of it, right? I mean, again, I'm just thinking finances here. I mean, passion first, finances second. But speaking of passion, speaking of finances, I want to welcome the newest channel member, 1000th Ghost Toys. You will see your name in the description of all future Toy Connections videos and live streams. And if I remember, I'll update it in the thing of this in the description of this one. It's only $1 Canadian a month. I'm not sure whether or not YouTube conveniently rounds that to $1 US or not. If people, I don't know if my American members are actually paying $1 US because they round weird, but you should be paying 80 cents, not $1 a month. That gets you extra emojis. Like you can spam me with Ralph emojis in the comments, which if Gazz were here, he'd be doing that right now, but he's off watching.
Where the hell is he, man? Where the heck is that?
He's off watching Black Adam. He sends his regrets, but I'm like, it's worth it for watching The Rock. If you want to watch Dwayne Johnson over Ken Poe, I cannot blame you. Right. So, or there's also my Patreon, which starts at $2.50 Canadian a month, which I'm sure Patreon rounds it off kind of funny as well. Where I put up like extra video content, mostly just me giving my behind the scenes insights, and I give a lot of updates on there, like camera roll feeds and bonus videos and early access. Sometimes a week early access, sometimes 12 hours early access, depending on the content of the video. But just thought I'd do that. And yes, everybody spam Gazz on Instagram. Ask him where he was.
He'll love it. He'll love it.
And Connor Fuller and Nolan, Nolan, one of the other channel members, just welcoming you folks to the chat. I thought I said hi to Nolan earlier, but maybe he just got in. But you all can catch the replay. Ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages. I just channeled my inner road dog, maybe because he's up there on my shelf. You know, we had a great stream today. Feel free to catch the replay, like and subscribe. Gojitron, Fandom Power Podcast, and Tony's Figs Instagram and Tony's part-time appearances on Toy Kinda Mood are all in the description section below. You can check out all their channels, and thank you for being such a wonderful community. I'm going to cut the stream off right here. Regrettably so and sadly so, because I just love this topic way too much.
It just means you got to have us all back again. That's all.
Yeah,
I probably will at some point in time. I mean, hey Wes, this is your second time being on here.
It's true.
You know,
true, yeah.
Goji, this is like your 4th invite, and Tony, we talk on the side anyway. And
yeah,
and when I was on Toy Kinda Mood, Tony, happened to be a day that you weren't on, so we like kind of.
I know it
just kind of just missed each other. Yeah, but that's okay. And thanks everyone for your time here. Thanks to everyone in the chat, and we'll see you all again soon. And we'll talk some toys again very soon.
Everybody.
Take care.
Great meeting you guys. Great meeting you guys. I'm subscribed to both of you now.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Take care.
All righty. See you guys.
Bye, guys.